Sorry, I'm going to get rid of the meeting controls really quickly too. All right. Hi guys, I'm Emma.
And I'm Emily.
And we are from Pitt Dance Marathon. And today we're going to talk a little bit about implementing effective stewardship for your dance marathon.
So in our presentation, we'll talk about the two-pronged approach that we take at PDM to donor stewardship, including stewarding as an organization and stewarding as for individuals, and some examples of both of those and what we did in our program this year, and then ways that other dance marathons can implement them and those methods into their programs in the future. So we take a two-pronged approach to stewarding in terms of that from an individual point of view and that from an organizational standpoint. So in terms of individual stewardship, this refers to the resources and plans that are implemented for participants and staff members to use, where they themselves are encouraged to thank those who have donated to their fundraising efforts. So this includes templates and outlines that we provide to every individual involved in PDM to send out once they receive donations from different individuals. And then organizational stewardship, which refers to the stewarding efforts that are done on behalf of all of Pitt Dance Marathon. So this includes emails that are sent out from PDM to all donors, to specific categories of donors, that sort of thing.
You're probably wondering why we do this in the first place. And really it's because it covers all of the bases. So some people donate because they're supporting the person that's raising the money. But other people may donate because they really just want to support the cause, no matter who the fundraiser is. So for money donors, it's a combination of the two. So using this two-pronged approach changes the form of thank you that will be most effective for each individual donor. So those that donated to support the individual fundraiser will typically feel more touched and appreciated whenever that person reaches out to them directly, whether it's an email, a text, thank you card, anything like that. But those that are more attached to the entire cause of dance marathons will really appreciate the acknowledgement of their contribution from the entire organization, appreciating the overall thank you, as well as any updates from the organization or new information we can provide them following their donation. This also helps disperse the responsibility and the workload of stewardship because it encourages individual staff members and participants to make the efforts of thanking their donors so that the stewardship chair or committee or whatever you may have at your dance marathon isn't as responsible for sending out individual text messages or thank yous to each single donor. This wouldn't be as effective anyway because whoever's in charge of stewardship won't know each and every donor as well as each fundraiser will. So this makes it way more impactful and personalized.
So focusing on stewarding as an organization, one of the main goals and main items in terms of stewarding as an organization is the high level of consistency and organizational skills that it requires because of the quantity of individuals, groups, and companies to be thanked. So depending on the size of your dance marathon, there are hundreds or thousands of donors in a given year, which is an extremely large list of names to keep track of and stay on top of thanking. So we have found that it's super important to create and maintain a robust list of donors by pulling frequent reports from Donor Drive to keep track of all of the donors. So we typically find it most useful to organize these donors into different categories and create different Excel spreadsheets and that sort of things based on different characteristics, such as those who have donated multiple times, those who have donated over $100, different kind of characteristics like that. And so it's extremely helpful in breaking all of this down to keep track of each individual's different contributions. And then creating this robust list that you maintain and can source from Donor Drive easily allows you to personalize the emails that will be going to a group. So even though it's just the organization sending a mass email, so to speak, so you still will be sending an email to maybe a few hundred people at one time. It is more specific in terms of acknowledging exactly what they donated and gave to the cause. So for example, if you break it down into who donated $50, who donated $100, who donated $200, and etc., this gives you smaller cohorts of donors, so you can provide them information on how much their donation will support the Children's Hospital or Children's Miracle Network, for example. So you can include more personalized details, such as a donor of over $50, you were able to provide X to a child at the hospital. And this in general just gets them more connected to the cause and allows them to see what type of impact their donations are having. And again, is just a way to make it a little bit more personalized, while still being able to send it out to large cohorts of donors.
And what's most important is to get creative. The more creative that your organization can get in ways of thanking and stewarding donors, the more exciting it is for those donors. They don't necessarily just want an email that says, "Thank you for donating to our dance marathon." They really like unique things. It helps them feel more appreciated and more recognized. So personalizing emails for different groups like this is one of the easiest ways to improve on the mass email method, as well as sending virtual postcards or thank you cards to those who have donated a lot of money to you. Work with your marketing team or whoever may be in charge of graphics on your team to create cute designs and interesting concepts. Maybe they tie into your overall branding as an organization or your campaign, or if you had a theme for your push day, anything like that. It really helps to elevate the stewardship materials. So one of our biggest initiatives at PDM this year for stewardship was our stewardship spotlights during our dance marathon. So once an hour, there was a slot of a few minutes set aside for prepared stewardship shout outs, where we would get on stage and recognize and applaud some of our top donors. So this came in the form of thanking all of the businesses that donated to our organization in any way over the past year, thanking and shouting out highest fundraisers of the hour, day, year, and so on. So we did this to dedicate explicit time during all of the craziness and fun happening during our main event to thank everybody who made a big impact on the reveal at the end of the day. We wanted to incorporate these spotlights after performers, so that way there would be a large crowd by the stage so that more and more people could recognize our donors and the people that made our fundraising possible. During these times, we even called up certain people to the stage to applaud and thank them if they were at our event, as well as inviting representatives from the businesses that had donated to us to come to our event so they could be recognized on the stage.
So now switching over to the second prong of individual stewardship. So individual stewardship is always a bit difficult, we have found, in terms of actually getting people outside of staff members to use the resources that are provided and take the time and effort to properly steward, recognize, and thank their donors. So we found that creating templates and email drafts and text examples is great, but if not many people actually use them, it kind of defeats the point. So this year, one of our main goals in terms of stewardship for our dance marathon was to increase participant stewardship. So try to get as many participants as possible, not just staff members, to thank those that had donated to them and supported them in meaningful ways. So this involved not only figuring out how to distribute resources, but how to get participants to use the resources that we had created as well. So the main idea for individual stewardship in trying to achieve this goal and this effort was creating and implementing what we called a stewardship matrix. So essentially, this was a chart that gave a recommendation of what stewarding effort or method the individual should use to thank a donor dependent on the amount that the person donated. So for example, if a person donated over $100, we suggested and gave the individual resources to send those people a virtual thank you card. So the thought behind this was really that it was if we gave a clear-cut, simple guideline and method for people to follow, it would provide a bare minimum in a sense that people would be encouraged to follow, because almost all of the work was done for them. If it was laid out based on who to send what to, based on their amount of donations. And so obviously, if they wanted to do more than what we had on the matrix that was wonderful and encouraged, but the hope was that individuals would see the provided and participants would see the provided instructions and guidance and follow it. So on the next slide is an example of our matrix. This was our matrix during a fundraising push day that we had in the spring. The matrix was easily modifiable depending on the event or situation that we were using it for, but this is an example for the spring push day. So as you can see, it gives guidance on what stewardship methods to take, depending on how much a donor donated to them. And along with this, we had all of the resources linked in the matrix so that people could easily go find the email and text and send it right away, or instructions for virtual thank you cards with the link, all of that sort of thing. Everything extremely prepared so that people could use the simple guidelines and not require much effort to hopefully increase their participation in our stewardship efforts. So in terms of distribution, like we mentioned, distributing the individual stewardship materials is a very important part of the plan. And for this, we teamed up with the marketing and recruitment panels of our organization. So whoever is in charge of the communication between participants or creating the different graphics and materials that you put out on social media, that sort of thing, is who we'd recommend working with for this part of the plan. So we had our recruitment team send out the materials in their participant emails while having marketing sharing the information on social media. So posting the materials in advance of the event, as well as during the day of. So giving constant and easy access to everything a person could need for thanking their donors. So we had marketing repost examples of people using the methods outlined in the matrix on the Instagram story throughout the day, just as a reminder for people to thank their donors. And again, the resources were right there on social media or in their email inbox, or GroupMe or whatever method you may use. And we just kept encouraging throughout the day to remember to use the provided materials that we had given that were clear cut and right there for them.
So in terms of success, this was by no means a 100% successful effort. There were still people that didn't necessarily take the initiative to thank their donors, even with these templates. But we did see a very significant increase in the number of participants that were stewarding their donors. We also received amazing feedback from participants that they used the matrix because it was easy to use and didn't take a lot of time or effort on their part. They also commented that they really appreciated all of the stewarding materials being found in one location. So that way, all of it was easy to access, easy to locate, and easy to come back to thank their donors next time as well.
So now in terms of implementing what we did this year at PDM into other programs, nothing that we did in terms of stewardship at PDM this year was super specific to our program, meaning that it can easily be replicated and utilized and adapted and in other dance marathon programs. So for example, with the stewardship matrix, it can definitely be tailored to whatever your program needs and whatever. So like you can put in your organization's favorite form of stewardship, previous templates that you've created, using it as an organization tool in that way, and tailor it more specifically to your organization that way. And if you have a lot of donors who donate high amounts of money, for example, you can alter the matrix to reflect this and making it go to higher levels versus ours during like push days where we had just a general 249 plus category. So if you have lots of donors who donate larger amounts of money, you can continue to provide guidance for higher amounts of donations. And then in terms of stewardship spotlights, they're also a super easy but effective way to recognize, thank, and applaud some of the highest donors. And this can be easily done during any of your dance marathons, like your main events. Just setting aside a few minutes, an hour, or however your organization wants to do it. It's easy to set aside, especially when you're doing it right from the beginning, to set aside a few 5-minute segments throughout the day for someone to get up on stage and acknowledge the top donors, important companies, all of that sort of thing. So just in general, focusing on stewardship and organization and organizational stewardship will help to cover all of the bases in thanking your donors, because it's much better for them to receive thank yous from individuals and the organization rather than receive a thank you from no one. Just as it's better to thank them at multiple points throughout the year as compared to not thanking them a single time. So that was kind of the motivation behind our stewardship efforts this year. And I think that you can take a lot of the different methods that we utilize and easily adapt them and adjust them to fit the needs of your program and your participants and your donors.
So just to wrap it up, make sure that you got the main points of our presentation and what we have done and what you could implement. Remember to focus on individual and organizational stewardship. Get so creative as you can. Get as many people from your organization involved to come up with ways to steward donors and make them feel as appreciated as possible, because we really do appreciate all that they do. And then focus on stewarding all donors, no matter how much money they donate, whether you're canning and they put 25 cents in, or it's somebody who donated $1,000 or more. Make sure that all donors feel appreciated, because everything they do makes a big difference for our organizations. Yeah, that is our presentation. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us at Pitt_PDM on Instagram. DM us if you have any questions, or DM us if you want to see how we're stewarding our donors this year. Thank you.
Thank you.